Good evening, Tavernites. It is I, your humble host, Reverend Sergeant Specialist Tyler Randall. That's right. I'm no longer a former sergeant. I am a Reverend former Sergeant Specialist. Yeah. I know. It's all for pomp and circumstance. And like always, in this tavern, we smoke and we drink. There we go. Delicious. So, anyway, I was telling some people that I've been having a hard time trying to keep up with the podcast because news wise, shit happens so fast that I can barely keep up with it, let alone analyze it. And if I do, and I have a few conversations, it's already out of the news, it's already gone, it's already done. So we're just going to get together and I'm going to talk about something that has been near and dear to my heart for a while. It's about the supernatural, right? The supernatural thing that you're not allowed to talk about, namely God. So I've been having conversations and arguments with people and also my wife about um, the law. Uh, for the most part, with the 2020 election, most people are like, but they didn't break the law. They didn't break the law. It's like, actually, they did break the law in many instances. And they go, well, they technically, and it's always technically. So forget about all that shit, right? What's done is done. The Supreme Court won't take the cases. Nobody will listen because by the time it's done, it's done. And even if you find out they were lying or that they did break the law, doesn't matter, right? So I want to talk about the law. I'm just going to put something on the ticker here. You can take your time to read it. It's First Timothy 1 through 9. And it says, understanding this, that the law is not laid down for the just, but for the lawless and the disobedient, for the ungodly and for the sinners, and for the unholy and the profane, for those who would strike their father and their mother, and do other murders. End quote. Right. So basically, what it's saying is like the law of man is not for you. Right. It's not for people like us, people who watch this, people who are going to watch this. The law is not for you. And I don't mean traffic laws. I mean, it can be all the way down to traffic laws, to indecency laws, to spitting on the ground in Korea and shit like that. But that's not what it's about. What it means is that the laws that are made by man, specifically by man, are not meant to govern your life morally. We've heard from the left for decades, you can't govern morality. It's like, well, we can, as long as you follow God's law. So when we talk about laws, we don't want to talk about, and I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but we talk about abortion laws, state by state, make the decision. You're going to govern yourself by the law of God. Other people will govern themselves with the law of man and use it as a justification, right? Forget that. Let's go to something else. Drinking and driving. Is it illegal? Yeah. Does it help the public? Yes. Is it going to get you kicked out of the kingdom of heaven? Probably not. I mean, maybe if you murder somebody, it's a whole different thing. So it goes both ways. You have to regulate yourself in between the two. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, there is a case to be made on one side, there's a case to be made on the other side. But what I'm saying is, I think the Italian mafia had it down pat with Omerta. He who cannot take care of himself without the law is either a fool or a coward. And he who cannot regulate himself without that law is both. Where he shall say to his assailant, if I die, I will kill you. And if I die, you are forgiven. Such is the rule of honor. And I don't think they realize how close that is to being biblically correct, right? If you're going to assail me and my family, I will forgive you if you kill me. But if if I don't die, I'm going to kill you. If that's just the way it is. Christianity is not the religion of passivity. It's not the religion of, Christ turned the other cheek, but we are not talking about being Christ. We're trying to attain that. We never can, and we don't deserve it. We've never been about, oh, let's just let them have the kids and make them trans and do what. No, you fight back. God will judge you based on his law. So you need to push back on that. You need to push back on the trans laws. You need to push back on the LGBTQAAIP plus 2 fucking parades, because it's nothing but profane. And if you look at it, I was watching an interview that Tucker Carlson did with Sean Ryan. I really like Sean Ryan's podcast. I don't like the UFO stuff personally. It's not I don't believe in that shit. But Tucker Carlson had a good take on it. He said, no other earthly creature works against its own interests. It's not natural. Humans are the only ones that do it. But the only reason they do it is because it's not human. Because it's supernatural. It's something else that's pushing humans to do that. Humans are the only ones that kill themselves. Right? Wildebeest don't kill themselves, porcupines, all that stuff. It's the examples he gave. The only creatures on this earth that kill themselves naturally are humans. And by naturally, I mean it's unnatural. They're not meant to do it. They do it because they are supernaturally inclined to do so. Think about that for a second. What supernatural entity would gain from you killing yourself, hurting your family, getting addicted to drugs, giving into your alcoholism, things like that? I enjoy alcohol and I enjoy smoking cigars. Would I consider them a vice? No, because I don't let it control my life. I enjoy doing them. And if anything, I find them leisurely in the way that I feel like it brings me closer to God. Because when I'm sitting here drinking by myself, drinking a nice little bit of straight bourbon whiskey, I'm smoking a very damn good cigar. And I'm doing nothing but thinking. And while I'm thinking like, what is God's law? And what is man's law? Sorry about the air conditioner there. But think about who you want to be governed by. If you think that it's Trump versus Biden, or it's Congress versus Senate, or it's Democrats versus Republicans, it's not. It's the supernatural versus you. It's evil versus God. Whose side? And we're getting farther and farther. The spectrum is stretching itself. It's not left and right. It's good and evil. And if you don't think that that's the case, then you're going to get stuck on one side or the other. You have to choose one day. Think about it. Understanding this, that the law is not laid down for the just, but for the lawless and the disobedient. Traffic laws, gun laws, especially gun laws, because we have an inalienable right to defend ourselves and our families. That's what we call natural law. People that don't believe in God call it natural law. It's God's law. You have the right, the God-given right to defend your family from harm. Should you just, oh, well, I guess they're breaking into the house, I should turn that other cheek and let them murder my kids in their bed? No, you killed them. The laws are for the lawless and the disobedient, and for the ungodly and the sinners, those that would, and the profane, and those that would strike their fathers and their mothers and do other murders. That's who the law is for. It's for those that would do those things. For those of us that already abide the law, that law is not for us. It's not to keep us straight. If any, it's to punish them. But more often than not, you see that the law is being used to rebuke the law abiding. Look at the January 6th protesters. They are being held without due process because those that are in charge, that happen to be ungodly people and the disobedient, are holding them to a separate standard. These people that just walked in, grandmothers that have leukemia, that are getting sentenced to fucking 2 years in prison. They're never going to see their families again. It's ridiculous. We look at Jacob Chansley, who, by the way, I think is a nut job and has his a couple screws loose and is just not in the right mindset. They let him in. They let him roam around. They improperly imprisoned him. If they'll improperly imprison a guy that's like that, what are they going to do to you? You have all your faculties. It's ridiculous. So that's why I say, at what point is the law not enough and God's law enough? What is stopping us from taking those people that would enact ungodly and unjust laws against the law abiding? Will you just put your arms up and say, well, I guess it's illegal to be a good person. I guess we got to let unholy things happen. I guess we have to let ungodly things happen to us. We have to let them teach our kids to be trans. No. As a matter of fact, it says you should rise up against those people. You should resist those people with as much fervor as need be, including returning their carbon to the earth so that it can fucking nourish the soil. There's nothing wrong with that. Lest you be judged. I mean, what's worse, letting your children be brainwashed into a sex cult, or stopping the people from doing that indefinitely? I'm not the judge, but I know what's right and I know what's wrong. So take what you will. It's been about 11 minutes. I got really nothing else to say on the subject. But read your Bibles, understand God's law, and fuck these unholy alliance of supernatural law that they're trying to push on you. I have been your host, Reverend former Sergeant Specialist Tyler Randall. Peace out.